An error occurred. Wait a moment and try again.
Is that on your side or my side? Okay,
Oh,
now
here
it
we
looks like
go.
we're live.
There we go.
That might have been on my side. This is what happens when I try things. When I try things, it's already over. Like we're in trouble now.
Well, good morning and good afternoon to everybody around the world. I want to welcome everybody to today's event on exploring spirituality. And joining me today is my friend Michael Padrano.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Welcome, Michael. Thanks
Thank
so
you for
much.
having me. I'm
Yeah.
honored to be here. This should be an enlightening conversation. I can't wait to see what comes out of my mouth. We're good.
Great. Awesome. So, I guess I kind of wanted to start out talking about just a little about what spirituality really is, because it's not religion, and religion is not spirituality the same necessarily. And a lot of people get those mixed up. I know I certainly did when I was a kid to start with.
I I
What are your
feel
thoughts?
like there. So I feel like there could be faith with or spirituality within faith,
Mm, yeah.
but I feel like faith doesn't have to be in spirituality.
Mm,
Spirituality to me means the journey of self understanding, right? Self connection, self understanding, self worth, self love.
mm-hmm,
It's independent of having a conduit, independent of having a congregation, independent of having belonging. It's just knowing who, learning who we are as individuals over time, and
mm-hmm.
having self
Yeah.
compassion and the desire to understand deeper. And we want this easy button, right, for spirituality. We want to find gurus. We want to find people that can tell us how. We want to find people that can tell us when. We want to find people that can tell us all these different things.
Right.
And it's like it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't
Mm-hmm,
work that way. You
mm-hmm.
know, it's one of those things where we've got to figure it out for ourselves.
Right.
So for me, it's working with a whole bunch of different modalities, a whole bunch of different coaches over time,
Mm-hmm,
creating what worked for me and aligned within me intuitively, creating my own Frankenstein approach to spirituality.
right.
Like, I mean, I feel like that's what everybody's journey on this planet is to find themselves.
Yeah.
So often we have the desire to follow what others say and follow what
Mm-hmm,
others want.
mm-hmm.
But that's only because we're scared to face ourselves. At least I was throughout my course of my whole life. So
Right.
it's been over time that I've grown through this process because I call it growing forward. And the more steps I
Mm-hmm.
take forward, the better off I feel for myself and the more aligned I feel within myself.
Yeah. I think the greatest joy is discovering yourself, really discovering what's within you when you focus.
I mean, there's a famous author, I don't know who, I'm not good with quotes, but like you spend the first half of your life disconnecting from self, and then you spend the second
Mm,
half of your life refinding yourself.
mm,
Right. And,
right.
you spend the first half of your life wanting to be an adult. Then when you're an adult, you want to be a kid again. It's the same concept.
Yeah,
We,
it's true.
systemically, culturally, societally, we rip the curiosity out of us and we move into this space where everything has to be so serious. And I can't
Mhm,
do it. I don't do it to my kids. I don't, I don't impose belief. I attempt not to impose beliefs on them. I
mm,
I encourage them to seek what aligns with them,
right.
which is a very different way of doing things. It's not the way that societally it's done today.
Hmm. Right. You take your kids to church and they stand up and sing the songs and
Yeah, I mean they get indoctrined into a religion or they get
Mhm,
indoctrined against religion, right?
mhm,
Or against
right.
another
Yeah.
religion because of different
Hmm.
belief structures. To me, they all have the same moral compass at deep down. It's the humans that control them that manipulate the information and disseminate the information from their perspective and they project their emotional issues upon others in their congregations in other ways. And
Right.
you know and it's been that way since the beginning of traditional religions, as
Hmm.
far as you can go back.
Hmm. And it seems like religions are all stories about someone else, whereas it's really your story that you need to connect with, right?
So I don't want to oversimplify like that, because I think that takes
Mm.
away from the strength and the benefits of religious belief.
Yeah.
But for me, spirituality is something that has to be built beneath it as a foundation.
Mhm.
It's the connection to
Yeah.
self, the connection to our own intuition, the self-understanding, the self-love, the self-belief, all those different things, to me, has to come first. And then you can build
Mhm.
religion on top of it. Because if you move into those spaces where it's you know, very restricted, then we're, as human beings, we're going to reject that because it doesn't align with us. So we need to have the freedom, and we need to find it from within, our self-worth, self-understanding, self-belief, self-love, and know that we are whole and complete on our own, and that we're directly connected to whatever higher power we want to choose to believe in. Then from there, you choose a faith or a religion that you can align with the cultural differences. To me, religions are just cultural differences and belief structures.
Mm. Well, you've studied with a lot of different religious leaders in your life. Is that correct?
Yeah, I worked with a couple priests, a couple rabbis. I worked with a bunch of shamans. I really was able to look at all different perspectives. And what I did was then I removed even my perspective, and became the observer of my own observation. Right. I,
Mm.
through a
Yeah.
lot of self work, a lot of self understanding, I started really taking a step back and feeling into what aligns with me and what doesn't. And again, there's 8.1 billion people on this planet, and all 8.1 billion have their own perspective and their own truth. So the only way that we can understand anybody else's truth is ask. You have to have the curiosity to understand. You have to be able to walk into things with curiosity and the desire to understand, and be willing to have conversations that disagree with your beliefs in a peaceful, respectful way. But humanity seems to have lost that along the way again.
Right.
Yeah. But we're creatures of habit, so it makes sense.
Yeah. I think curiosity is really such a blessing that it's almost like your innate way of loving another person is just to be curious about who they are and what they're doing.
Well, I think there's a very different tone and a different way it comes across.
Mm.
If I said, Carl, what is your belief structure and why do you believe that way? Rather than saying, hey, Carl, I'm just curious, like, why do you practice in this way? There's a whole different feeling around those statements and the way that it's toned.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
tonality is everything also. I mean, we have to truly believe it and live it. Like, you can't just use words and not understand what you're saying, because if you don't understand what you're saying, nobody else is going to either. Like,
Sure.
every word means something different to every individual. So if you don't walk into conversations with curiosity, it can mean 100 different things, especially in English. I mean, English is the worst. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a very different way of coming across, right? Like, when you walk through life with curiosity and the desire to understand others, it shifts how people react to you. We live in a very reactive society because there's so much unresolved trauma throughout humanity, generationally, culturally, societally, stigmas, beliefs, racial, sexual, gender. I mean, sexuality, religion. I mean, we can go into any of these topics, right? There's so many different things. And, you know, the powers that be, whoever they are, right, that 0.1% or whatever it is, makes it very simple for us to be divided and be conquered and be controlled and be manipulated. And at the end of the day, it's true marketing tactics and trying to understand how the human psyche works and our brain and our ego, and playing all those different variations of it and leveraging it against us in many, many ways. And it's not always a bad thing. There is healthy manipulation also. Like, right. I'm going to manipulate you to eat healthy and exercise every day. That's not a bad manipulation. I'm probably still not going to do it, but that's not a bad manipulation, right? So let's be transparent. But there's healthier manipulations also. But like, we take these words and we become so stringent about
Mhm.
they're good or bad, when to 8.1
Right.
billion people, there's 8.1 billion different answers.
Mhm.
So if you don't have
Yeah.
the curiosity to understand, and you don't ask direct questions in a kind, understanding way, then you're never going to get answers, and you're never going to understand anybody else. I've
Mhm.
shifted my verbiage tremendously. Like, people go through similar situations like abuse or losing people or loss or any type of traumatic situation, because all trauma is how your nervous system reacts to it. So anything can be trauma.
Right.
So
Mhm.
what I've done is I've shifted the way I speak, and rather than saying I understand what you're going through, I say I can relate to what you're going through, but how can I support you?
Mhm.
Because again, we're all unique and different. We all react completely differently. So we need to have a desire to want to understand. I understand the empathy
Right.
factor, and you've
Yeah.
got to have empathy. But you don't understand what they're going through because you're not them. You haven't lived their
Mhm.
life. You don't know how they're reacting to it. You don't know. One person's losing a mother versus another person losing a mother is two completely different losses. My sister took my
Right.
mother's loss
Right.
extremely different than I took my mother's loss. She was my
Mhm.
abuser,
Mhm.
right? So, I mean, we handled things completely differently. And neither of us could understand each other because I wasn't mature enough or understanding enough to take the time to understand.
Mhm.
We have this is who she is to me, this is what it means to me, so it has to mean that to you also. And yes, I talk with my
Right.
hands a lot, so they're flying everywhere all the time. um
We
but
project.
yeah, we project and we assume and
Mhm.
and we expect, and then we create
Mhm.
expectations or torture
Mhm.
us, rip us
Mhm.
apart.
Right.
It's like the worst thing that we can do.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of that comes from fear, and the fear is all learned behavior, and so we have to unlearn that to be able to accept the joy that is already there. I think.
So, okay, so there's different words for everything, right? So
Hmm.
there's conscious thought, which is to me the choices that we make on a daily basis. Subconscious, which other people use unconscious for.
Hmm.
Subconscious to me is our automatic programmed thoughts that we have on a daily basis. So UPenn did a study, and our brains do an average of 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Up to 85% of those thoughts slant negative, and up
Hmm.
to 95% of them are subconscious based auto programmed. So of course we're going to lean into the patterns and behaviors. I mean, we can be self-aware all we want and just hate ourselves because we just see all the nasty crap. But
Hmm.
it's moving into a space of compassionately self-aware to where we understand we're not perfect, but we are perfect exactly as we are and unconditionally love ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not easy to do.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You have to move because societal things, it's right to apologize to others is what I was raised with, right? You have to apologize to others when you do something wrong. No one ever looked at me and said, you need to apologize to yourself.
Mm.
Like, I
Yeah.
had no idea that
Right.
was even something that was real.
Mm.
It wasn't until I started going down this healing journey in 2020 when I was fighting for my kids stranded in Arkansas, and
Mm.
I went out there to save them, and I was forced to save myself. I
Wow.
had no intentions of saving myself, but to have the resilience to be able to, and the fortitude to be able to grow through that experience, I had to save myself in the process. And
Right.
understanding, moving
Wow.
into a space where I realized I had to forgive myself was an enormous piece of this puzzle that I couldn't grasp.
Mm.
So I created self-forgiveness letters for others to emulate if it's something that aligns with where they're at. I don't know. I don't know
Mm.
what anybody else needs. I can share all the
Yeah.
pieces, and then they have to figure out what works for them. But societally, we aren't taught to forgive ourselves. We aren't taught to
Mhm.
unconditionally love ourselves. If I lose
Right.
weight, I'm going to love myself more. If I get a better job, I'm going to love myself more. If I buy a bigger house, I'm going to love myself more. If I have the right partner, I'm going to love myself more. If I have the right
Mm.
partner, my life's going to be perfect. If I have this many kids, it's going to be great. I want to be the first. I want to be the best. I want to be the richest, the most. I want to be the most well known. I want to be the most
Mhm.
famous. It's all chasing mentality. It's the world
Yeah.
that's pushing this chasing mentality on us, and it's
Right.
not. It's not healthy. by any
Mhm.
stretch of the imagination. It's all self-disconnection.
Mhm.
Like, it's all about disconnecting from ourselves. So we
Right.
actually have to make the conscious decision to choose to reconnect to ourselves. And then we
Mhm.
have to forgive ourselves for choosing to disconnect, because our intuition knows that it's
Right.
there. And our intuition, if we're disconnecting from self, then we are actively making a choice to disconnect and go against our intuition, because our intuition is not a negative voice, it's not a positive voice, it's a very direct voice on our deep, deep, deep core. And to hear that whisper, you need to silence all the noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Absolutely agree with that.
and that's not easy to do.
Mhm.
We were talking about it before we went live. It's not easy to do in this world because they want
Mhm.
us preoccupied. They want us disconnected.
Mhm.
All the information is in front of us. Our attention spans get shorter and shorter. We talked about that too.
Right.
And it's all the
Be
same purpose, is to
be a better
disconnect.
consumer.
Yeah. It's the exact purpose. I mean, that's really what it's about, is the disconnection from self.
Mhm.
We can look at it and make it as complicated as we want to be, but at the end of the day, it's not that complicated. It's not easy to do and to shift, but it's
Mhm.
worth it, because once you
Mhm.
reconnect to yourself, you can't unsee what you've seen, right? So, like, when you
Yeah.
start finding that inner peace, that personal freedom, that I don't care what anyone thinks of me anymore, right? Like, I just don't
Mhm.
care. It's none of my business what they think of me. And
Mhm.
honestly, how much time a day is somebody else worried about me for? Like, what are they avoiding in their own life if they're focused on me? They
Right.
have their own life to live, their own bills to pay, their own things to do, their own people to pay attention to. And they're not taking as much time as I thought they were focusing on me.
Right.
We like to think that we are the center of the universe, but we're not.
Mhm.
We don't even
Mhm.
make ourselves the center of our own universe.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I think the ego blocks out love.
So I have a very interesting relationship with ego.
Mm.
My belief is that our ego is our personal identifier to our higher power,
Mm.
because I believe
Right.
that we have many
Right.
past lives, many life experiences, many of these. The only way that our higher power knows who we are is the ego is our identifier. People
Mhm.
say get rid of the ego. You can't get rid of your ego. It's who you are.
Mhm. That's true.
Protect your ego. Keep it safe. Have
Mhm.
a way to alchemize it and create your own internal yin and yang with life. That's what I do.
Mm.
When something is
Yeah.
off in my life, I take like this visualization of a yin and a yang, and I put it over my emotions. I put it over my thought process. I put it over my spirituality and my
Mhm.
direct connection to my higher power. And I really, really look at it. And am I tilting one way or tilting the other? The black, the white, that stuff doesn't matter. The light, the dark, that doesn't matter either, because one can't exist without the other. So they're both just as important. If you
Yeah.
have all light, then there's nothing
Mhm.
else there.
Right.
That
Right.
means you're just avoiding, and you're living in
Mhm.
that toxic avoidance. If you have
Yeah.
all dark,
Yeah.
then you're living in that toxic environment.
Right.
You've got to find the balance of both, and you've got to be able to process and handle and be realistic with ourselves.
Mhm.
And that's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Um, being
Yeah.
transparent, being honest,
Mhm.
being self-loving, being self-connected, self-aware, but doing it in a loving way is so different.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
so different. We want to teach
Right.
meditation. We want to teach breath work. We want to do all these different things. We want to get
Mhm.
certified. I got news for people. If you didn't know how to breathe, you wouldn't be watching this. It comes pretty natural. Now, learning how to breathe with intent is a different story.
Mm. Yeah.
So rather than saying, I need to go learn how to breathe and do breath work, acknowledge and give yourself accomplishments that you do it naturally on your own. But
Right.
then step into a place, I need to learn how to put the intention into it.
Mhm.
Yoga,
Mm.
meditation, all these different things.
Yeah.
It's about intention. Everything we
Right.
do is about intention. We label
Mhm.
things good and bad, black and white, pink and purple, up and down all day long. But just because it's my right and wrong doesn't mean it's your right and wrong. Doesn't mean it's my kid's right and wrong. Me imposing things on my children doesn't help them. I'm
Mhm.
guaranteed
Right.
to give my kids different trauma than I had. That's all I can guarantee, because their perspective is gonna receive it however they receive it. But what they will definitely learn from me is that there is healthier ways to heal themselves.
Yeah.
There is healthier ways to self-connect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I can do, is give them, share tools with them. And then they have to figure out what works for them. You know, my son was suicidal for 3 months.
Wow.
He didn't leave my side for 24 hours a day for 3 months. He stayed home. He was sleeping on the floor next to me. He was like, I mean, it was really bad. He used to tell me every night, you know, put the knives in the safe, the kitchen knives, because I don't trust myself with them out. And after about 3 months, he finally said, Dad, you know what? You can leave the kitchen knives out. I feel safe in my own skin again. And it was like, I had to show him that I trusted him, that I loved him, that I believed in him, for him to understand to believe in himself again, because he went through abuse from his mother and her ex-boyfriend. So, you know, we all grow through experiences. They're not good or bad, because the childhood abuse I went through was the greatest gift I was ever given, because without that, I don't think I would have had the fortitude to have the desire to save my kids and then really save myself.
Wow.
We're presented with circumstances every day. Why do we get so attached to it? Why do we get so attached to the outcomes? It just is. Yeah. There's the jogger that exercises every day that gets hit by a train. There's the person who smokes 6 packs a day, drinks every day, and lives to 120. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. We pretend that we can control everything. We have impact on quality of certain things, 100%. But we don't know what whole grown food is anymore. The soil is destroyed. Like, we pretend that organic is organic, but it's really not. There's so many chemicals in the food. There's so many additives in the food. There's so much sodium. There's so many preservatives, because we want food to last longer. We want it to make it, we want to make it special. We want people to buy in bulk. We want these big box stores to do okay. So we push it. And, you know, at the end of the day, you go to like a small town in Italy, like where I've been a few times, which is the reason I refer to Italy. I love Italy. I love the energy there. I just love the feeling there. I love everything about it.
I went there in college.
But see, you go there and you want to buy meat. You go to like the store, or you go outside, or you go to a fair, or you go wherever it is, a farmer's market or something, and it's all hanging there because they literally killed it that damn morning.
Yeah.
And you know what? They can't sell it the next day because it's already going bad. So it's like, there's no preservatives. There's none of those chemicals. Every time I've been to Europe in the past 20 years, which is, I think, about 8 now, maybe 9. I don't even know.
Awesome.
I was sick the first few days. Then I felt the best I've ever felt in my life. And then coming home, I was sick for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because I had withdrawals from the chemicals. And I mean, I'm talking about sick on both ends. I'm talking about, it was a mess. But when I was there, I would eat more and lose weight. Like, it was the most amazing experience of my life. One, because you work to live when you're in Europe and other countries. You don't live to work. And here, we live to work so much in the US and certain other countries like Switzerland and the UK and other countries, that we had to create something called work-life balance. That's so oxymoronical. Like, I mean, think of that comment. Like, there is no such thing. It's life. There is no personal self and a professional self. There's self. If you're being asked to divide yourself, then you're talking about, you're talking about separating from self again. So it's just another way and more labels to pull us away from ourselves. You know, you can't bring your personal to work. Well, then how am I supposed to come to work? Because I am me, no matter what. There's a reason I can't work in corporate. I just can't. I wanted to. It won't work. I can't do it.
Right.
Because they only want the part of me they want, and I can't live that life. It's not who I am anymore. I mean, it's a very disconnected, disjointed way to live. And that unfortunately feeds the narrative that they want us to have.
Right.
There are always going to be hot topics. There's always going to be hot buttons that they're going to push regularly to see where we're at as a society and what they can get away with. And whoever that is, I don't know who they is. I'm not going into conspiracy theories. I'm not playing that game. But it's whoever it is, right? And wherever it is and whenever it is. It just is. But there's obviously a portion of society, because now you have It's not 1% anymore. It's 0.1% because
Yeah,
the wealth gap is so large now.
that's
There
right.
is no more middle class. Let's stop pretending there is. I
Mhm.
was just listening to a video that said, college graduates make less now than they did in 1982.
Right.
They come
And
out
they
of college
switched jobs
making
like
less money.
7 times or something.
But no, listen to that statement. Inflation is up
Mm.
hundreds of percents, right?
Mhm.
But college graduates make less coming out of school now than they did in 1982.
Mm. Yeah.
So 40 years of inflation and the wages went down, and school is 4 or 5 times the cost.
Yeah. It's true.
What does that tell you about where we're at as a society?
Mhm.
That's why certain companies say
Yeah.
you don't need a degree anymore, because then what you're doing is you're taking on people that have a tremendous amount of debt, that aren't happy in their situation, that mostly are just taking jobs so that they can follow the path that was created for them.
Mhm.
I mean, when do you connect to self? At
Yeah.
what point do you stop listening to every outside voice? There's so
Right.
many people that have great information. The problem is how they communicate it. When anybody
Mhm.
says this is the only way, this is the best way, this is my way, rather than saying this is a way, I stop listening. Anybody who says that this is the way, I stop listening. It's got to
Right.
be a
Yeah.
way. There's 8.1 billion. And it
Yeah.
doesn't work for everyone, I promise you.
I agree.
So when you move into that verbiage,
Mhm.
you're seeking a following, you're seeking to be an authority figure in anything.
Mhm.
We get certifications,
Yeah.
we get accreditations, we get all these different things. I don't need to be certified how to breathe. I know how to breathe. I'm still here. I'm talking to you. I haven't shut up. So I'm pretty good at breathing. It comes pretty natural. Like, getting these things and chasing these external things doesn't work for us.
Mhm.
What are we
Yeah.
avoiding? We don't believe in ourselves that we need to prove something to somebody else.
Yeah. People wanna know what to do about it, though. I mean, I think people end up feeling stuck.
So go within. Go within. Stop looking
Mhm.
externally.
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean, you're never
Yeah.
going to find it if you keep looking externally. You're just going to chase the
Yeah.
next thing. There's a reason that some of these coaching companies that have been around for 20, 30 years keep getting the same people coming back. It's because they spoon
Mhm.
feed them. They create
Right.
deep codependency,
Mm.
but they can never say that because that blows their whole concept out of the water.
Yeah.
The way that I create things is so that you have tools to live the rest of your life, and you don't need me. There's
Mhm.
8.1 billion people on the planet. I don't want to work with you for the rest of my damn life. I want to work with 8.1 billion for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
I don't
Right.
want to reach 100,000. I don't want to reach 1,000,000 people. I want to reach 8.1 billion. I want to reach every human being on this planet and teach them to look within. Do
Mm.
not depend on anyone else to tell you what your intuition is saying. I don't care who you are. You want guidance, that's fine. You want insight, that's fine. Find it. I mean, there's people that I have found guidance in all the time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't overrule my own intuition. My own intuition is my guide. My internal voice knows better than anyone, because no one else has ever lived my life.
Mhm.
Past lives, future lives, current lives, whatever you want to talk about. Like, I mean, my intuition's been there, done it. No one else has. So how could they
Mhm.
know better than me?
Yeah.
But you don't
Absolutely.
know that until you're aligned. You don't know that until
Mhm.
you understand your own personal belief structure. Like, what do
Mhm.
you really believe?
Mhm.
What do you understand? How do you get aligned? Who are you?
Right.
I mean, it took me a long time to figure those things out.
Yeah.
I'm just me. I'm so many things. I can't list them all. And I'm not putting myself in labels and boxes. I refuse to fit anybody else's categories. I'm just
Mhm.
me.
That's great. Yeah.
I'm here to elevate humanity through knowledge and understanding. Very straightforward.
Mm.
That's
Awesome.
it.
Mhm.
Knowledge and understanding of self, because they've got to look within.
Yeah.
You don't need anybody else. You need people to show you tools. You need people to share their experience so you don't feel alone in the process. You need
Mhm.
people to
Yeah.
see the third party perspective, which is not emotionally or mentally or physically attached to the situation or circumstance. But you
Right.
don't need them by your side permanently.
Mhm.
You should all be Sherpas. You're part of the journey and move on. Part of the journey and move on. That's it.
Yes.
There's no
Yeah. Totally.
there's no one easy button. We're not Staples. We can't hit that one button and be good. It's just not the way it works. We want it as human beings.
Mhm. Right. Well,
But
I think a lot of it comes from a lot of the progress that you can make is just from the acceptance, like you were talking about, and accepting your whole self with your flaws and your shortcomings, and realizing that you're not going to be the best at everything, and being
so
okay with it.
so I learned that I am going to be the best version of myself at any given moment, even
Mhm.
if I make a perceived wrong decision.
Mm. Right.
Because how many wrong decisions have I made in my life, quote unquote wrong, that have turned out to be the greatest lessons I could ever imagine?
Yeah.
So is it really wrong if it's the greatest lesson?
Mm.
It's the attachment to it that's the problem.
Yeah.
Our manipulation to control ourselves, to control everyone around us, to have any
Mhm.
belief structure that we can control it. We can't control anything. Stop
Mhm.
pretending.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can control our actions and our reactions. Anything outside of that doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we have to be self-aware. We have to be self-understanding, self-compassionate, self-loving, build our self-worth, and just keep growing forward every day. For me, I
Mhm.
broke it down into phases. And I don't want to go
Mhm.
into my program. I don't want to talk about what I've
Okay.
created. But I broke it down into 4 phases. It's the
Okay.
awareness phase. So that's moving into the space where you start knowing and seeing the shit person that you really are, all
Mhm.
the crappy things that we do. Then it's the acknowledgement phase, which is moving into forgiving ourselves, a deeper understanding of ourselves, really embracing all parts of ourselves, moving into that unconditional self-love stage. Then it's the acceptance phase, which is releasing all those things, releasing the attachment to it. Then it's moving into the allowance phase, which is what I feel like most coaching programs don't have,
Mm.
which is creating a new way of living.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: if I teach you how to create a new way of life and I give you the tools, do you ever need to come back to me again?
I don't know. Probably not.
That's right. So why would anybody else teach you that?
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
live in scarcity and fear that we need
Mhm.
clients. We need to keep getting clients. We need to keep chasing money. We need to keep chasing business. We need to
Mhm.
keep chasing social media. We need to keep chasing a following. We need to
Right.
be permanently responsive to everyone and everything at all times.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
it's all just about disconnecting from self.
Mhm. And the present moment where joy is.
Right. That's, I mean, yeah, joy is real. Joy we can do. Happy isn't real. Joy is real.
Mhm.
Happiness is fleeting. It's momentary. It's an emotion. Emotions last about 90 seconds scientifically, and feelings are the stories we tell around the emotions that can last forever if we get stuck in them. Right.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
trust me, I was a great storyteller. I lived in my trauma and I was a victim for so many years in my life. I mean, I'll be
Mhm.
45 next week. Yeah, next week. And so I spent the first 40
Okay.
years of my life in misery. Thank you. I can't believe I lived this long. Um, I feel like I'm lucky to be alive and breathe. So, I do it
Yeah.
pretty well. The breathing comes naturally. But it's like I look at it and it's like I spent 40 out of my 45 years despising myself,
Mm.
absolutely hating myself,
Wow.
avoiding self-awareness, avoiding everything. Now today I just avoid
Mhm.
different things, right? Because it doesn't go away.
Mm.
There is no there to get to until you're dead. There
Right.
is no there. It's a daily
Mhm.
process. It's a
Mhm.
daily experience. 150,000
Right.
people on average don't wake up the next day.
Mm.
150,000 people die on average a day.
Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
blessed to be alive.
Yeah.
It's an
For real.
opportunity to learn, grow, and support and love and move
Mhm.
into a space of understanding and caring and having experiences. There is not a single experience you have after death. Not in this form.
Mhm.
It just doesn't happen. It's over. Like I believe in future lives, past lives, I believe in soul, I believe in reincarnation, I believe in all those things. But this experience doesn't carry forward. This experience is over.
Mhm.
So when
Yeah.
this is over, there is no more experience. Be
Right.
blessed. Embody gratitude for having the experience every day. Good, bad, ugly, perfect, beautiful, doesn't matter. Who
Mhm.
cares? You're able to have it. I believe part of the journey that we are ripped away from us is feeling the whole emotional spectrum,
Mm.
feeling the extreme highs and the extreme lows and everything in between. I feel like emotions are a rubber band, and societal cultural stigmas, beliefs, everything shrinks our emotional bandwidth to something like this.
Mm.
The reason they say that you have to grow through pain to feel real joy is because your bandwidth gets bigger. So
Right.
the same birthday cake that you felt when you were in this space and everybody's around you singing happy birthday, you don't feel anything because you feel nothing. You're numb because your rubber band is this small.
Mm.
After you grow through the darkness, the whatever you want to label it, right? The dark nights of the soul, the tragedy, the trauma, the healing, whatever you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can label it however you want to label it. It doesn't matter. You just want to fit in if you're using a label. So, and I did that for years too. So, when you grow through those experiences, your bandwidth expands from this to this out of the screen. So that birthday cake and people are showing love to you, you feel it at such a depth. You're like, this is the best experience ever.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine. But that's because you're feeling and you're embodying it and you're living in it and you're in the moment present within it. People show us love in all different ways. We get love on a daily basis and we just don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
The person that holds the door, the person that says hi, the person that says please and thank you, the person that's courteous, the person that smiles. But we miss most of those things because they're so wrapped up in our own shit.
It's true.
And we're usually wrapped up in our own shit about what everybody else is thinking about us. But if we're wrapped up in our own shit, how much time do you think somebody else wrapped up in their own shit has time to think about us?
Right.
They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care about us. Why would they care about us? Caring about ourselves is action. It's not word. Love is a verb. It's not a noun. It's not an adjective. It's not any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
It is a verb. It comes through daily practice. It comes through self-care. It comes through my self-love journey, meditation and breath work and energy work and all these things that I do. I just don't label them, right? Like, I'm pretty good at breathing now. I walked around on the grass barefoot. Does that mean that I walked around grounding? I should teach people how to walk around without shoes. I mean, I can't go there. It doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like my mind doesn't let me buy into that stuff anymore. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like tying into the labels. I don't like labels anymore.
Yeah.
I release the labels. I release the desire to know everything. I don't care about knowing everything. I just want to know who I am at this moment. All we have is a series of moments.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do with those moments? That's up to us. And trust me, I took a lot of moments for granted. About 40 years of them.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I guess that's what kind of used to bother me about working a regular job, was being forced to waste time. That's probably my biggest pet peeve, is when I'm forced to waste time and wait for whatever to happen. That's why I like being an entrepreneur, because.
So let's go into that for a second. Why do you believe it's wasting time?
If you're not being intentional about how you're spending your time and you're spending it for someone else.
So here's a question for you. If you took out any moment of time for the first period of your life until you became an entrepreneur, would you know everything that you know today as an entrepreneur?
Not everything. No, you wouldn't.
Okay, so there you go. So there wasn't a single wasted moment.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what it needed to be for you to be who you are today.
Mm-hmm.
We need to change how we perceive things.
Yeah.
My worst tragedy traumas are the best things that ever happened to me. Do you understand how freeing that is?
Yeah.
I was physically and emotionally abused from 2 to 12. Like, that was the best experience of my life. Do you understand how that changes my life? Because without that, I'd never be who I am today, to stand by my children and what they're growing through and healing from. I would take it personally. I would think that they're attacking me. I would think that they're mad at me. It has nothing to do with me. They're on their own they are their own living beings trying to just keep up with themselves. They have to heal themselves. I can't heal them for them. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Sure.
They have to learn at their own rate. I can't control their journey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much do I really want to control? Do I want to control their journey?
What kind of dad are you going to be?
It's not about a dad. What kind of human am I going to be
Yeah.
if I want to control their
Mhm.
journey?
Right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, we don't look at it that way because we are ingrained to believe that we have to control our children's lives.
Mhm.
That is what society
Yeah.
wants us to believe. But
Yeah.
what's going to happen if we let them experience things while they're safe under our roof? And we're there to support them through them growing. They believe in themselves. They love themselves. They don't go to college and you see those text messages on, that parents post online like, Dad, how do I wash the clothes? Do you put colors and lights in? And where do I get laundry detergent? I always found it in your laundry room. Like, you don't get these questions because they know where things are because they lived it themselves. You allowed them to grow through their own experiences, but we take it personally.
Right. It's
We
true.
want to control because we're scared.
Mhm.
We're scared that we don't have a value as a parent if we're not controlling it,
Right. Yeah.
rather than just being their guide in life,
Mhm.
supporting their journey. Because it's not about me, it's about their journey.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, we take it so personal. People come and go. People choose to disconnect. People choose to follow. People choose to leave. Who cares? It's not about me. It's about them. It has
Right.
nothing to do with me.
Mhm.
We can pretend it does. I can blame your whole life on me. I'm okay with that. It don't matter to me. You can blame me
Yeah.
for your trauma. That's fine too. I don't care. You can blame me for being stuck. I don't care.
Mhm.
If you're
Everybody
not
everybody wants to be the star in their own movie.
if you're not doing the work on a daily basis to heal yourself, forgive yourself, self-love, self-forgiveness, embody yourself, embrace all facets of yourself, own what you perceive are the worst parts of yourself, you're
Mhm.
not hurting me. You're hurting
Right.
yourself.
Yeah.
Controlling our children, controlling and manipulating and saying you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, you have to go to college, you have to do this. That gets them in debt. That puts them into fields that they have no interest in being in. That's why we have adults killing themselves all the time. So
Mhm.
many doctors and lawyers are killing themselves because it's not what they really wanted. They've dedicated their whole
Yeah.
life, got $500,000 in debt from going to school, went to graduate school, and they're in a career that they can't stand.
Mhm.
And they hate themselves within it because they did it. We don't have to live
Right.
with that. They do. So why
Right.
are we imposing it upon them? One of the things I do with my kids is force them to have nothing time. Like the weekends, we're doing nothing. You're going to learn that you are valued just for breathing. You don't have to fulfill
Mm.
anyone else's expectations. You want to go do something, we'll go do it. But let's go do it. Let's not just talk about it. Let's not just make plans. Let's make it rigid. Let's do it if you want to do it. If you don't want to do it, then why are we even doing it? To fill somebody else's expectations.
Mhm.
I attempt not to
Yeah.
impose expectations upon them because it's just not my place.
Mhm.
They have to
Right.
live with their own consequence. They have to live their own life because when I'm gone, they're still going to be here.
Yeah. So what's the biggest thing you want to see them realize now?
I want what I want. Okay, so I want for my children what I want for all of humanity, to be
Mm. Oh, that's
self-inspired and self-empowered,
Yeah. Right.
unconditionally self-loving,
Mm.
and understand their self-worth. I don't want
Yeah.
them to sacrifice pieces of themselves to fit other people's wants, needs, desires of them. I want them
Mhm.
to love themselves unconditionally, especially the parts people label bad or wrong or
Yeah.
horrible.
Mm.
And I want them to embrace it all. Live the experience. Make your mistakes. It's fine.
Mm.
Most of the mistakes we
Yeah.
make aren't mistakes, they're just lessons.
Mhm.
Don't take it so personal.
Yeah.
And it's a process. My 7-year-old, my 6-year-old, she gets it a little bit. When
Mm.
I'm out of line, when I'm off, she calls me out on it. Dad, go meditate. Dad, go journal. Dad, go write a self forgiveness letter. That's my 6-year-old who went through trauma.
That's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And even if she never learns what the tools that I use or created, she knows how they impact me,
Mm. Right.
and that
Mhm.
is where the disconnect is. Like
Mm.
Dave Hansen just said, I just saw his comment. I haven't been looking at comments, but like he just said it. Like, imagine if we all unconditionally loved ourselves. I mean, loved ourselves unconditionally. I mean, however he worded it. Same thing, just different way of wording. But could you imagine that? Like,
Mhm.
nobody would hate anybody. Nobody would want to hurt anybody. Nobody would look to take advantage or be better than anyone because they would unconditionally love themselves. But
Yeah.
we're so far removed from that that we have to literally label love conditional or unconditional. That is how we
Mhm.
detached we
Mhm.
are.
Yeah.
We have had
Yeah.
to label love,
Right.
friend love, romantic love, this love, familiar love. Screw it, it's all love. Damn it, grow the hell up. Let it
That's right.
go. You're
That's right.
allowed to love somebody and not want to
Mhm.
sleep with them. You're allowed to love somebody and not want to talk to them for a year. You're allowed to just love, just be. But it
Mhm.
starts with loving ourselves. And
Yeah.
until we can unconditionally love ourselves, nothing else matters.
Mhm.
So you want to talk about spirituality? It starts with unconditional love, unconditional self-love, or love.
Mhm.
But let's label it unconditional love since the whole world's conditional today. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
what we're doing is falling into the labels that have been used. Because for me growing up, society said, you get this job, you get these grades, you get this girlfriend or house or partner, let's call it partner, right? Because that's more fair to everyone. You get this career, you get this house, you get this cars, you get these kids, you do this, you do that. I'm going to love you more. It's always more. I'm going to love you more, more, more. There is no
Mhm.
more love, damn it. Love is infinite. We limit
Yeah.
love. Love
Yeah.
is infinite.
Yeah.
We put a cap on it based on what we feel we can receive.
That's right.
And that's all that it comes down to.
Mhm.
Who the hell am I to fucking put a limit on love for anyone, including myself?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's infinite. Who am
Mhm.
I? Why am
Mhm.
I trying to control this process? What am I scared of? What am I worried about? What's going to go wrong that is so bad that I can't just be myself at all times?
Right. And you don't have to look outside yourself for it.
Nothing is outside of us. You
Mhm.
can find tools and see if they align with you. It's the relatability that makes a coach align. It's the relatability that makes a coach work. It's not any other reason. Every coach has tools. It's
Mhm.
relatable experience. It has nothing to do with certificates. It has nothing to do with certifications. It has to do with, can I relate to this individual and do I trust them because of it? That's really it. So
Yeah.
if you're working with
Mhm.
somebody, a coach, a guide, or whatever you want to call it, and you don't feel safe in your own skin, first of all, if you don't feel safe in your own skin, that's more about you than anyone else. But if
Yeah.
you're working with somebody that claims to be a coach, treats it like a power dynamic relationship that they know everything and you know nothing,
Yeah.
you're with the wrong person.
Right. Yeah.
You're with the wrong person.
Absolutely. Yep.
Everybody has their own trauma. Everybody has their own shit. You got to work it out yourself.
Mhm.
If you find a coach that's done working on themselves, they're not the right person. Because that means they're an ego and they believe they're there, wherever there is. I've never met
Yes.
there. Tell me what there means and we'll learn from there. I don't know what there means, but we'll just ride with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's so many distractions that people get carried away with so many different things, thinking that that is who they are. That when they're looking outside themselves for their identity.
Always.
And
It's what
there's
we're
so
talking
much
about.
of that in our culture. It's almost like the norm.
It's what we're taught to do.
Mhm.
It's not
Right.
our fault.
Right.
Until we can take a step back and start becoming self-aware, sit through the awareness phase, which is dirty as can be, and move into a space of compassionate self-awareness, none of it matters.
Mhm.
That's where you need a guide. That's where you need a
Yeah.
coach. That's where you need somebody, a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. Well, they'll probably put you on drugs. But that's where you need somebody by your side to be that objective third opinion, third outside perspective looking back at you. Because when we're on
Yeah.
this journey, we tell ourselves a whole bunch of crap based on our patterns and behaviors. We believe our own Kool-Aid. I promise you, we drink our own Kool-Aid because our
Right.
mind, again, go back to the mind, right? It's 95% subconscious auto-programmed thoughts, repetitive patterns and behaviors. So all our mind knows is our history. So if you're not being compassionately self-aware, you're not journaling, you're not paying attention to your thoughts, you're going to get wrapped back up in it.
Yep.
And we slant 85% to the negative. It's why I don't tell myself I'm 1% better every day. I can't buy into that because 85% of the time, my mind's going to say, well, you were 1% worse yesterday. I don't want that running through my damn head. I am perfect exactly as I am. But I'm ever evolving, growing, and growing forward. I'm always learning, I'm always evolving, and everything is a lesson and an experience. That's all it is. But we take it so personal. We need the label to identify, to feel externally validated. Labels are great for categorization, to simplify, to do all these different things. But you have to know deep down at your core that you are unique and the only one of you that's ever existed in all time and space. I don't care how many past lives your soul has. I don't care about any of those things. And I believe in all that, right? As we discussed. But you are the only one of you that has ever existed. Because you're talking about a combination of all your soul's experiences pushed into this human experience. This is the only one of you in all time and space.
Right.
So nobody can understand you unless you understand yourself. That's why I can relate to understand. I don't understand. But you've got to be aware and compassionately self-aware. Because if not, then 85% of the time you're going to just beat the shit out of yourself. Because that's where your mind automatically goes.
Yeah. Well, and maybe that's another reason for meditation is to be able to calm thoughts like that.
So here's the thing. Meditation doesn't work when your brain is overstimulated. You can't meditate. That's why when somebody says, I can't meditate, you need to sit down and meditate 10 times as long, right? When somebody says, I can't meditate, I don't have time, I can't, I do this. I find that journaling is the first exercise because you need to get the crap out of your head first. You need to do what I call brain dump journaling. There's tons of labels for it, tons of names for it. Just get everything out of your head that comes to your head. And then when you get really scared shitless in the silence, that's when you meditate. We're not used to silence. We look for noise everywhere. We encourage noise. We bring it on. We empower it. We look to grow it, evolve it, push it. It's, we need to just be with ourselves. And that's what we don't do. We're always chasing. We're always doing this. We're always trying to live into expectations.
Yeah. Yeah. And people, I guess, act like they don't have time. Maybe it's the discomfort.
It's the discomfort. It's definitely discomfort. I mean, but I'm not going to speak for 8.1 billion, right? Like that's the other thing. We want to say maybe this is what it is, but who knows?
Right.
There's 8.1 billion answers, I promise you. You don't know until you ask. Why aren't you doing this? Oh, okay. Why do you feel stuck? Oh, okay. I'm not going to assume based on my experience because I'm not living your life.
Right.
So those are the questions you ask. That's how you be curious to understand rather than judging and comparing to yourself and your own journey. That's why I don't like the word coach. I like the word guide because I stand by someone's side and step by step through it.
Yeah.
I don't like coach. Coach is an authoritative role. And to me, it's just a label that's a power dynamic and feeds ego. And I have no interest in it. My ego is perfectly fine on its own. It doesn't need to have anything over anyone else to be okay. It just doesn't. But it's that unconditional self-love, and that's where it all starts. It all starts with us. It always starts with us. We can point to anything we want, anywhere we want, any person we want. It doesn't matter. This person did this. This person did that. But you have to own your reaction. You have to own your emotions around the situation. It doesn't matter what anyone does to me.
Yeah.
Do things hurt? Yeah, they hurt. Do things trigger me? Yeah, I get triggered all the time. My kids are my greatest triggers. And I love them for it because that's where I need to work through and grow through and understand more about myself. I don't judge for it. And that's where we get lost and tied up in the words and, misuse things and tend to try and feed our own ego and pat ourselves on the back,
Right. Yeah, it takes some vulnerability, I think, to admit these things too. You have to be okay with being honest with yourself and being vulnerable, I think.
That's the key. The self-honesty and self-transparency. That is the key. Self-transparency. Because I lied to myself for 40 years every day.
Yeah.
Because I always pretended I was a great person. I always pretended I was telling the truth. I always thought that honesty meant the most to me.
You trick yourself because there's immediate benefits from lying to yourself.
100%. Well, here's the thing, right? So when I look back, I was taught by my parents, honesty was the most important thing. But then I was also told by my parents, always tell us the truth, but never tell anyone out of the house what's going on in the house. So my understanding of what truth was is that you can omit facts, you can change stories, and you can make it so you don't hurt anyone else. Is that really the truth? If truth has all those characteristics, then it's not the truth. It's me manipulating information so that I don't have to make anyone else feel bad. How is that truth? So my understanding of what truth was imposed beliefs, right? Because that was imposed upon me by parents and others. Imposed beliefs create our beliefs. It's not until we release the imposed beliefs and figure out who we are at our core that we can shift who we are. Like our beliefs. We are exactly what we believe, I promise you.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Your beliefs are the reason why you are where you are.
100%. Doesn't matter. We are exactly what we believe. We also create our own limits. Any limit that somebody else imposes upon us and we accept it, we created it. We can't give them the power over us. We chose to accept it. We also deserve what we allow. We can't complain what everybody else does to us if we allow it. So we deserve exactly what we allow. Yeah. We can say this person's a bad person. We can say this person's hitting me. We can say this person's abusing me, verbally destroying me, hurting my kids, doing this. None of it matters. We're allowing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not until we get that honest and that transparent and that self-loving to forgive those levels of hurt and pain that we have always tried to point the finger at everyone else for, that it doesn't matter. Nobody's ever hurt me. I allowed them to. It's all on me.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it all. Can two work together if they don't agree? I was just reading Elaine's comment. I believe so. I mean, I think anybody can work together. Why do people have to agree? There's 8.1 billion on this planet. There is no way that 8.1 billion agree on anything. So yeah, I think it's a desire to understand and be curious, rather than a desire that your beliefs are imposing on my beliefs. No, they're not. I don't live your life. Doesn't matter to me. Like, we take everything so personally and think it's an attack against us because of our traumas and triggers. In reality, they're living their life the best they can, based on where they're at and what they know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all I can do is own my part and release it. Do I think that they can work together? Of course I do. I think people can definitely work together and not agree.
We need more of that, really.
100% we do. We need people to have the desire to understand and communicate. But nobody wants to do that. It's easier just to hate because we hate ourselves. It's all triggered reactive behavior.
Right.
I call it reactive behavior. That's what I decided the best label for it was. Doesn't mean it's a good one. Just means it's the best I can come up with. I feel like reactive behavior versus responsive behavior. And responsive is when you take a pause, you don't jump to the trigger, and you don't respond based on your patterns and behaviors. You actually have conscious thoughts to create a response rather than a reaction. That's how I differentiate. And if I don't define it, then nobody knows what I mean. They can take their own assumptions, but there you go. There's my definition. It's in the world it's in the ether forever now. We're good.
Well, sometimes I think hate is so easy to get on to the noise and the hate is very noisy, and energetic, and love is quiet and accepting. And I think it makes it easy to miss the one for the other.
If you believe that, then that's your truth.
It's easier for people to jump on board and hate than it is for them to accept love.
If you believe that, then that's your truth.
Okay. Yeah.
For me, it's not.
Okay.
For me, hating is arduous and painful because I can't imagine going to that space. I unconditionally love myself, so why would I want to hate anyone else? I don't care. It's just when you get to that point, it doesn't matter. You release that attachment to it.
Right.
Not about me. Why does everything have to be about me?
Yeah.
You know, we want to believe that we're the center of the universe, that we're the center of civilization, that we're the center of everything. We're idiots. We're 1.2% DNA wise away from a chimpanzee. How smart are we? They spend all day flinging poo at each other. Are humans any better? Go look at the news. All we do is fling poo bigger. We fling bigger poo, right? Like, like you said, missiles and bombs, and
right.
We're just, overgrown, over-glorified egos. That's all we are. You can see the reactive behavior everywhere, which is living their traumas and their triggers, and the way that they're reacting because they feel scared and fearful and living in that. You know, you can see it all day long. Doesn't mean it's true. Right. It's only true if we allow it to be true. We have that choice.
Yeah,
we can choose to work and heal and grow and evolve, or we can choose to stay stuck. It's 100% up to us.
Right. Yeah, we have to. You have to accept and see things as they are to take the next step.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a person in my life, no matter what they have done to me, that I don't unconditionally love and would allow back in my life tomorrow.
Wow.
If they are accountable, right? Because access to me shifts. I can unconditionally love you from a distance. You don't need to be sitting in my lap, right? You can be wherever you want, and I unconditionally love you. If you want to be close to me in my life, you need to be accountable to yourself and change behavior. Because if you're apologizing without change behavior, then that's just manipulation towards yourself, not towards me.
Right.
You're just lying to yourself. You're not lying to me. I see that behavior truth clear as day. But that's the reality. It's easy to point fingers. It's tough to be accountable to ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's where most people get lost. Because they're scared. We're taught that we can't do it. We're told we are not self-empowered, and self-inspired. Because if we are that, then we don't need to go buy different things. We don't need to get the next new car, the next new iPhone, the next new house, the next new anything. Because we don't care. Right. And that doesn't fuel them. That doesn't fill the way that they like to operate. Whoever that is, I have no idea. I'll let you know if I ever meet them. Probably not.
Yep.
It's just a numbers game. You know, you're either
I worry about our capitalist social media lens that we look through so much of the time. I think it's not conducive to building our better selves lots of times.
So let's take a step back on that for a sec. I am self-empowered, self-inspired, unconditionally love myself. Do I care what anybody says on social media in any way, shape, or form?
Right, sure, you wouldn't.
Do I care what they shove down my throat? Do I care what's in front of me?
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. Do I care about likes? Do I care about follows? Do I care about contacts? Do I care about any of that crap? No, not at all. So here's the thing. Social media is the greatest amplifier in all of history.
Yeah.
If Jesus had a YouTube, the whole world would be Jewish. If Muhammad had a YouTube, the whole world would be Muslim, right? So, like, if you want to amplify it to that level, if Buddha had a YouTube, the whole world would be Buddhist, right? So, like, I mean, it is the greatest amplifier of connectivity in the history of humanity.
Yeah.
And we turn it into a tool. We turn it into a weapon. We turn it into the villain when it's not a villain. It just
Mhm.
is.
Right.
In the 50s, radio was bad for you. In the 60s, TV was bad for you.
Yeah.
In the 80s, it was video games and all these things that were bad for you.
Yeah.
Now we're in the 2020s and it's social media. I mean, let's blame everything, because the more we blame and have somewhere else to channel our anger and channel our targeting, the less we look at ourselves. So if you're buying into the Kool-Aid and blaming and shaming all these different things, start looking at yourself. Because what are you avoiding by blaming everything else around you? We choose what we allow in our space.
Yeah. Some great comments here.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Why don't you scroll through some of them for a little bit? Give me a chance to drink more water.
There you go.
Because I haven't shut up for an hour. You know, and it's infinite possibilities. We need to stop limiting ourselves. There's infinite ways. My way doesn't work for everyone. It's not going to work for anyone. It worked for me. So if there's something relatable, pick the piece and use it. I don't care. But you've got to find what works for you. And that's all I encourage people to do is look within. Stop buying in and following what everybody else is doing. Stop looking at a social media leader and saying they know what they're doing. So that must be right for me. I don't care who they are. They have not lived your life. They have no clue what you have grown through. They have no clue how to help you get out of it. They can share a piece, but you have to choose to apply it, and you have to add other pieces that align with you also.
Yeah.
We need to stop creating false idols. Everyone becomes a false idol in this social media world.
Right. Well, maybe it's something with comfort too. There's a lot of comfort in blaming other people for your situation and your outcome.
I don't know. I get very uncomfortable when I start doing that.
Yeah.
So
that's when you lose control.
Well, we are what we believe, right? Like, so when I used to tell myself that, right, I always blamed and shamed everybody else and pointed fingers at everybody else. I wasn't accountable to myself. The more accountable I come to myself, I can't imagine living any other way. Doesn't mean I don't slip. Doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. My 6-year-old gladly calls me out on it. I'm a human damn being. It happens. Nothing is perfect. But I am perfectly me. And the difference is I'm accountable for it and own it and grow and heal and move forward. You know, we can get comfortable in anything that we choose to.
Yeah.
You know, I choose not to be comfortable in misery anymore. I choose not to be comfortable in self-hatred. I choose not to be comfortable in chasing. I choose not to be comfortable in fitting in. I choose not to be comfortable in manipulating myself. Like, to me, there's just levels of manipulation. Well, this is how social media works, so I have to fit in. No, I don't give a shit. I'm not fitting in anywhere. Leave me alone. I'm not going to fear sell. I'm not going to trigger your trauma and then tell you how I can fix it. I'm not going to do any of that shit. I'll share my stories, but I'm not going to trigger you. I'm not going to I'm not going to try and manipulate you into buying. I'm not going to try and close you on the first call. I want to talk to you at least 3 times. Make sure you're breathing and make sure you're still okay. Like, I don't care. Like, you know, we worship external over ourselves, and it does no one any good. We need to learn how to honor ourselves.
Yeah.
It goes back to this journey of self-understanding. That's where it comes down to. That's why I simplified it that way. Because to me, spirituality is the journey of self-understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Anything else is just manipulation of ourselves. You know, people don't like woo-woo. People don't like it doesn't matter. It's not woo-woo. It's your beliefs. Who are you to judge my beliefs? What works for me doesn't work for anyone else. It doesn't have to. It only needs to work for me.
Yeah. And all you can tell people is what has worked for you.
Exactly. Share my
Can't tell them what's going to work for them.
This is what I've grown through. This is where I was. This is where I am now. Can you relate? If you can relate, let's see how we can work together. If you can't relate, then have a good day. There's a million coaches out there you can go work with. Go for it. I don't care.
Right.
I have no interest. I don't care.
Mhm.
None of my business what people want to do with their lives. And I'm not making it my business. I have enough of my own life.
Yeah. So if someone really wants to make big changes and start deepening their spiritual growth, what advice would you give them?
Listen to no one's voice over your own. Start identifying your thought patterns. And start looking for tools to help you piece things together for yourself.
Mm. Yeah.
No one person is going to have a one-size-fits-all fix for you directly.
Mhm.
They can have a piece and meet you where you're at on your journey at this point in time. But then maybe you need to move on to somebody else that can fit another piece of the journey. Stop taking it so personal.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's not about us. Everybody's where they're at. It's okay. We're where we're at. So who am I to judge anybody else where they're at? Oversimplification, but it's true.
Yeah. Right.
Man.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. Even I'm not used to talking this much. Maybe it's a dust in this room because I don't think I've cleaned this room in a long time. That's possible too.
Yeah, my allergies have been tearing me apart past week.
Oh yeah, allergies are rough. Oh, they're horrible right now. Because winter had that delay, and then it started, and then spring started, and then it went back, and then it's like this big mess. Right. Anytime you have that break in between spring and winter, it's like, oh god, it's gonna be a bad one because it like sets everything up, and then it just explodes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I just did. I clicked the wrong button on my computer. When I leave the screen that I'm on, it doesn't really help me. And that's what I was doing for a second. I went on a different tab and it wouldn't go back. And it wouldn't go back to this tab. So I don't know what's going on. My computer's acting up.
One of these tabs here. That's what I do. I get lost in the tabs.
I have like 25 of them open, so I'm good. It's a slow day for me when I only have about 25 open. So we're good.
Right. Oh, I did want to mention I have hopefully a publication date for my book coming up June 6th. It's looking like.
That's amazing. That's my 6-year-old's birthday. She'll be 7.
Oh, great. Awesome.
There you go. I'll remember that one. That's easy to remember for me.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
That's amazing, man. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And what's your book called?
Authentic Self.
I love it. It's a beautiful thing.
Thanks. I know you have events on pretty regular. Are you starting those back up lately?
Yeah, next Thursday I'm going back to my weekly events. I took some time off because I was having LinkedIn issues and they couldn't figure out why I couldn't set up events, so I stopped setting them up. So yeah, I go back next Thursday, I think. Nice. I gotta find the calendar. It's here somewhere. I don't know what I did. Yeah, so I got a good little hiatus from them to give myself a break, and now it's time to go back to them. So I really enjoy doing the audio rooms and other stuff I do. So
Great.
yeah, next
Any
Thursday.
other- What's that?
Next Thursday, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard
Oh,
Time.
great. Okay.
And then I do them weekly from that point forward.
Awesome. Any other big plans for the summer?
Nope.
Vacation or anything?
Nope. Trying to survive it.
Yeah.
Living one day at a time. There's no
Mhm.
guarantee I'll wake up tomorrow. So I just got to take it one day at a time. That's it. Embrace every moment that I get.
Yeah.
Practice my breathing on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Your gratitude. Gratitude's critical.
Well, I embody gratitude. It's a little bit different now. I used to believe that
Okay.
I had to practice gratitude.
Uh-huh.
After my stroke that I had a year and a half ago, I kind of just started embodying gratitude because I'm just grateful
Wow.
even to be breathing and alive. So
Mm.
it shifted to perspective. Like gratitude is a state of being. It's not an action.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I just shifted everything. It's given me,
Nice.
it's the greatest thing. I call it my stroke of gratitude. It's the greatest thing, another great event of my life.
Mm.
So magical. I feel like we're winding down a little bit. It's
Yeah. Maybe a little.
yeah, it's time to. I think we call it, and we could always do a part 2 down the road if
Okay.
if
Yeah.
we want. I'm always up for that. But
Okay.
yeah, I'll go eat lunch before my next call.
Okay.
It'll give me that break in my schedule. But yeah, I appreciate you, Carl. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed
for
the
sure.
conversation.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed the conversation, Michael. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time
you.
with me. Appreciate
Thank you,
everybody
everybody,
joining
for
us.
yeah. I appreciate it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Have an amazing day.
Yeah. Enjoy the weekend.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.